If you want to gift your loved ones a cute scarf in a trendy shape for these holidays, you can follow this tutorial to make a beautiful triangle scarf in Tunisian crochet using a fluffy and very soft yarn that makes a wonderful accessory for cold but not frosty days. And if you want to, you can change the stitch pattern. I will show you how to start and how to end this shape, and then you can adjust it to your desires. You can stop increasing at some point and then just keep going straight for a scarf with pointy ends. And what I love about this the most is that it works up so fast and you only need a very small quantity of yarn. For this scarf I used one ball of 50 grams of this type of mohair blend yarn, and it's thicker than the usual mohair. You see, it has 225 to 195 meters per 50 grams, which means it's twice as thick as the regular mohair, and it works up much faster. I recommend using this type of yarn for this project because the fabric still has structure and it will not compress, but it's also very sturdy because we are doing Tunisian crochet. If you were to knit with this, you would have a very flimsy scarf or shawl. What you need for this scarf is some of this kind of yarn. 50 grams will make a big scarf like this that you can wrap around and tie in the front. You could also use a thinner mohair if you don't want to use a wool, because the people in your life don't have so much time or patience to wash things by hand. You can use a synthetic mix like this one. This is Diablo by Hobby, or you can use an acrylic. You can give it a bit of steam when you're finished to remove the curl. And for this yarn I recommend using a 7mm hook. You can use a regular crochet hook or a Tunisian crochet hook without the cable, because you can fit a lot of stitches on a hook. You can even use one of these long ones. It doesn't need to be double-ended. If you use thinner yarn, you might want to go down a hook size. To finish off this project, you will also need a regular crochet hook that's slightly smaller than the Tunisian crochet one. I recommend a 6mm or a 5mm. It also helps to have a stitch marker and a tapestry needle for the end of the project. We begin the project with a magic ring. And if you're not familiar with magic rings and Tunisian crochet, I have a separate tutorial on the channel about this. So we just make a loop with the tail on top, insert the hook from below, pick up a loop, chain one, that's the first stitch or the first loop. Insert the hook into the magic ring, pick up a loop, chain one, and repeat that one more time. Now we have 3 loops on the hook. And then we yarn over both or 2 twice. This is the first row, and when we close the magic ring, all the 3 stitches will start from one point. For the second row, we increase. In this pattern, I will show you 2 ways of increasing, but in the first row we increase using full stitches. So we insert the hook between the 2 stitches here before the first simple stitch. Then we make 1 Tunisian simple stitch by going behind the vertical bar of this stitch here in the middle, and then we finish the row by going behind the 2 vertical bars here at the end, drawing up a loop, and then chain 1, yarn over both or 2 to the beginning of the row to return. And because this is the increase row, we can mark it with the stitch marker. This is just so you remember how many rows you have made with a specific stitch count. So here we had 4 loops on the hook before starting the return pass. Now we will make 2 simple stitches and then the last stitch, chain 1, yarn over both or 2 to return. And then we repeat this once more. And then the return pass. Now we have 3 rows with 4 loops. Next we increase again. We go in between the first loop and the second, pick up a loop, and then 2 simple stitches. Last stitch, and you can mark the first stitch of this row now. Chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2 to return, and this is the first row with 5 loops. Then we make 3 simple stitches, last stitch, return pass, again 3 simple stitches, last stitch, and then the return pass. Next is an increase row, and you can use the full stitch or you can make a different kind of increase. I will show you now. For this increase, we make 2 stitches in the first stitch here. First we make a Tunisian knit stitch by inserting the hook between the 2 vertical bars and drawing up a loop, and then we make a Tunisian simple stitch by going with the hook behind the front vertical bar and drawing up a loop. Then we have 2 simple stitches, last stitch, and you can move the stitch marker now. Chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2 to return. You can also move the stitch marker at the end of the row or at the beginning. Now I have 2 rows with 4 simple stitches. That's 1 row and 2 rows. And then you continue increasing like this until you use up about half of your yarn, maybe 48% of the yarn, because we will be using the last 4% to slip stitch along this long edge, because it will have a slightly bumpy appearance and this edge will be very straight. I'll make a few more repeats and then I will show you how to decrease to make the second half of the scarf. If you want to, when you're happy with the width, you can just keep going straight without increasing, just making straight rows, and then you will do the decreasing on the other end. So I'll see you in a few seconds with a slightly wider piece. When you're satisfied with the length of your project, if you're making the triangle, you now have 2 options. You can stop after you make a row with an increase, or you can make the 2 straight rows to have a softer curve here on the point. So it's your choice. If you're just making a straight piece here, then you don't have the choice because you just go into the decrease row. The decrease row is very simple. You decrease 1 at the beginning of the row, and you can do it by making a Tunisian simple stitch 2 together, which means that you insert the hook behind the vertical bars of the next 2 stitches and draw up a loop. And then you make simple stitches across. And last stitch, chain 1, yarn over, pull through 2 to return. So if you go directly into the decrease, you'll have a point here and here. And then you make the 2 straight rows, no decreases, just simple stitches across. That's 3 rows. So the next one is one with a decrease. And if you want to, you can just skip the first stitch and start making stitches from the second stitch. That's another way to decrease. You can do whatever you want because it's your project. So You can see this doesn't leave a hole here, just like with the scarf that was made on the diagonal. You can barely see the decrease there. And you keep making this 3-row repeat. 1 row with a decrease, 2 rows with no decreases. As you can see, it's starting to gain some shape here. So I will finish this and I will show you how to end the shawl when you have just the 3 stitches left. After you finish the last row with 4 loops, you do the last decrease however you like. I will just skip the first stitch. Pick up a loop in the next stitch to make a simple stitch. Make the last stitch and then yarn over, pull through 3 to finish the scarf the same way as it started. If you want to, you could also make 3 rows with 3 stitches and then finish it off, but then you would have to do that in the beginning as well. Now don't cut the yarn, turn the project to the back, switch to a smaller crochet hook, and we will be slip stitching into all of these stitches here on the edge, on these 2 edges of the triangle, to make them a bit smoother. So we start with the second row and just slip stitch loosely. You don't want to have them too tight. This helps keep the edge neat and it looks nice on both sides. At the point you can chain 1 if you want a pointy part here, or you can just continue slip stitching along the second side. And you can see where I made the full stitch, there's a bigger hole than where I increased without the full stitch, so be aware of that when you choose the type of increase. When you get back to the magic ring, if you haven't pulled it tight yet, you can make the last slip stitch into the magic ring, and then you cut off the yarn and pull the end through here and weave in the end. And I have a separate tutorial on the channel for how to weave in ends in Tunisian crochet, and as you can see now the edge is much nicer here and we have a triangle with a much nicer shape. You can block this into shape before you gift it. If you want written instructions for this tutorial, they are on my blog, and you can also buy a printable PDF from my shops that allows you to support this channel and to get more cute Tunisian crochet and regular crochet tutorials from me. I thank you so much for watching, and I hope you check out the other tutorials that I've created for you for quick gifts or very intricate projects. And I will see you in a future video. Bye!